Hi, my name's Rock and welcome back to Viper Tactical Training. Welcome back to everybody who's returning, and you're more than welcome if you're arriving here for the first time. Emerging threats in 2025, as the thumbnail said there. That's what I'm going to be looking at. This is only going to be a short video, so bear with me on this. It's not going to be too long. I'm going to look at specifically the UK, but these threats do transfer into the wider environment, the European communities there and the US as well. I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction about this, so please bear with me, and then I'll get into what I'm going to talk about here. The threat landscape's changed over probably the last 20 years. And the threats we're facing now, and the emerging threats especially, we've not had these threats that have been more imminent now since probably 2005 with the 7/7 bombings. And these threats are now, becoming more imminent. Before I go any further, and before I get into it, before I forget, please like, subscribe if you're enjoying these videos. And I'd really be interested in your thoughts, so please do comment on what you think some of the threats are that we're going to be looking at in 2025. In line with this, I'm going to be running 2 workshops in February, anti-terrorism workshops, and we're going to be looking at this more in depth. So one of them will be on February the 15th and the second one on the 22nd, both the same workshops. I'm going to look at what we're talking about today a lot more in depth. I'll put a link down below so you can book your place on the workshops, and I'll put a link down below where you can get a free handout on my 10.5 tips to keep yourself safe during a terrorist attack, because that's what we're after really. Members of the public, you and I, keeping ourselves safe if we do happen to get caught up in one of these attacks. I will touch on the workshop. The workshops are going to be anti-terrorism based, so it's all terrorist based. I will be looking at the latest report that came out from the Home Office that thankfully has been refused and poo-pooed by the government. Within that report, though, there are some relevant aspects of what they talked about, and I don't think that's been recognised in some of the threats that we face this year. I'm not going to get into the political discussion. These are anti-terrorism workshops, not political discussion workshops. So I'm going to look at that, but it's all to do with keeping ourselves safe. I'm also going to look at the Southport attack, because within that, the whole framework of that attack, there are aspects of what we are looking at this year, bigger threats, and how they've emerged and why they've emerged. We're going to look at that really in depthly, and there's a few other things we're going to look at as well. So back to what we're talking about today, the emergency threats. One of the biggest ones, and like I said, we've been talking about this in my community for over 15 years, and one of the questions I get, so when I'm talking about large-scale attacks, small groups of people, large numbers, 20, 30, 40 groups, 4 to 8 man teams of terrorists, all attacking at the same time in different locations UK-wide. That is probably one of the biggest attacks and the biggest threats that we're going to be looking at. And one of the questions when I teach this, either on workshops or if I'm doing it in person to security people, or to concerned citizens in groups, or other agencies, close protection and people like that, I'm always asked, well, why has it not happened yet? In the military, and I'll quickly go through that. We've got two answers to that. At the moment, we've got small 1 to 3 man teams, maybe terrorist teams, low tech, using vehicles as a weapon, knife attacks, very low tech weapons. And one of the things we're going to look at on the workshop, when I go a bit more in depth with this, is why they're only using low-tech weapons. We've now got, they had a logistics problem, which they don't have now. We've left, when we came out of Afghanistan, we left approximately just over $7 billion worth of military equipment, everything from aircraft, so fighter jets, helicopters, tanks, jeeps, millions and millions of rounds for small arms, thousands of small arms weapons. We left so much there. We've just funded an army for free of charge. $7 billion worth of equipment we left there. Prior to us leaving from that, they had a logistics problem, obviously, which is why we've only seen small teams, low tech. And I'm going to look at that more in-depthly in relation as well to the Southport attack. The other answer to the question is manpower. In the military, if we were attacking in an enemy position, we'd ideally like a 3-to-1 advantage. So for every enemy soldier we would be going up against, we'd want 3 of us. And that's probably the minimum that we'd look at. So if you think that the standing army, the standing forces in the UK is round about just short of 150,000 in total. Not the army, but the army, the navy, the air force, and probably about another 20,000 reserves. That's our standing military force. And within that, that's not all what we call teeth arms. So the guys who are going to go out there, the door kickers, the ones who are going to go out there and do the combat. You know, that's all your cooks, your bottle washers, your chefs, your clerks, everything else is on top of that. So a very small percentage of that are actually teeth armed, the combat guys. So at the moment, we've got 40,000 possible terrorists walking the streets in the UK that we know of, okay? With the thousands and thousands that are coming across, young fighting age males predominantly, coming across the channel and staying in the UK. So if you look at it, we have got a Trojan horse. Why attack now if you've got 40,000 that we know of, maybe another, I don't know, 20, 30,000 that we don't know of, if that, you know, maybe more. Why attack now when all we are doing is allowing enemy forces to come into the country? Why attack now? Why not attack this year, maybe next year, when they do have that numerical superiority? Can you imagine small teams of 4 to 8 people attacking different cities, different towns, rurally? And I'm going to go into this a lot more in depth on the workshop. You know, what sort of pressure that's going to put on every emergency services. And you know, we've got the police as well, and not every, I don't know whether you can remember the shooting in Cumbria, which lasted a very long time because there wasn't the manpower to go, you know, this guy was mobile, he was going around, he was shooting people. That's one person. If you're in a big rural area, you might have one armed response team. You know, not like London or Manchester or Birmingham, where there are numerous response vehicles, armed police officers. Once you get out in the rural areas where response times are slower, it's going to be a lot more nasty. You know, a lot more casualties, a lot more things going wrong, and a slower response. And we have to look after ourselves before anything else, before the police arrive or anything else. Other emergency, emerging threats. I just wanted to well, put it a long story short, you're going to have to come and watch and join the workshop to find out more information about these, the largest threat we're looking at. But again, as you saw from the thumbnail there, we've got another big threat that we're facing. And I will go into some other threats as well. So if you're wanting more information, please do join me on this workshop. You will find it interesting. It's down to ourselves to protect ourselves, know the the modus operandi, the method of operation for how these people work, how they're training. One of the reasons we have found that we are still getting 1 to 3 man teams attacking locations, low-tech weapons, is because they're doing different training. They're going to change their modus operandi, so they're going to change their methods of attack. But they're carrying on at the moment, as usual. Same old, same old. So if we're looking at terrorist attacks, we're looking at low tech, we're looking at knives, we're looking at vehicles. At the moment, we don't want to get that blinkered look, we don't want to get that tunnel vision. I do talk about this on different aspects of situational awareness, behavioral detection, everything when we're looking at our personal security. So we don't want to get sidetracked into just having that one threat to focus on. We've seen terrorist training camps, I'm going to touch on that as well, in the UK and especially abroad now. There are so many terrorist training camps abroad, and I will cover this in depth on the anti-terrorism workshops. And this all relates to the threats, the emerging threats that we're going to look at in 2025. I hope you can join me. It's going to be really interesting. You're going to get a lot of information. I'm hoping that I get some good feedback from you guys when you come onto the workshops as well, which I also appreciate. So please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the workshops. It's going to be really good. Okay, stay dangerous, rock.